Jethro advised Moses' father-in-law. Jethro, sheep of me dying, heard about all that God had done for Moses and his people Israel when he brought Israel out of Egypt. Jethro brought along Moses' wife, Sipporah, who had been sent home earlier, and her two sons. The name of the first one was Gershom, because Moses had declared, I was a foreigner in a strange land. The name of the other one was Eleazar, because my father's God El was my helper Ezer rescuing me from Pharaoh's sword. Jethro came together with Moses' wife and sons to the desert, where Moses was staying, near God's mountain. He sent word to Moses, I, your father-in-law Jethro, am on my way to you, along with your wife. Her two sons are with her. Moses went out to greet his father-in-law, bowing down low and kissing him. They asked about each other's welfare and went into the tent. Moses told his father-in-law about all that God had done to Pharaoh and Egypt for the sake of Israel, as well as all the frustrations they had encountered on the way, and how God had rescued them. Jethro expressed joy because of all the good that God had done for Israel, rescuing them from Egypt's power. He said, Praise be God, who rescued you from the power of Egypt, and Pharaoh, who liberated the people from Egypt's power. Now I know that God is the greatest of all deities. Through their very plots, he rose above them. Jethro brought burnt offerings and other sacrifices to God. Aaron and all the elders of Israel came to share the meal with Moses' father-in-law before God. The next day, Moses sat to judge the people. They stood around Moses from morning to evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he said, What are you doing to the people? Why are you sitting by yourself and letting all the people stand around you from morning until evening? The people come to me to seek God, replied Moses to his father-in-law. Whenever they have a problem, they come to me. I judge between man and his neighbor, and I teach God's decrees and laws. Moses' father-in-law said to him, What you are doing is not good. You are going to wear yourself out, along with this nation that is with you. Your responsibility is too great. You cannot do it all alone. Now listen to me. I will give you advice, and God will be with you. You must be God's representative for the people, and bring their concerns to God. Clarify the decrees and laws for the people. Show them the path they must take, and the things they must do. But you must also seek out from among all the people capable, God-fearing men, men of truth, who hate injustice. You must then appoint them over the people as leaders of thousands, leaders of hundreds, leaders of 50s, and leaders of tens. Let them administer justice for the people on a regular basis. Of course, they will have to bring every major case to you, but they can judge the minor cases by themselves. They will then share the burden, making things easier for you. If you agree to this, and God concurs, you will be able to survive. This entire nation will then also be able to attain its goal of peace. Moses took his father-in-law's advice, and did all that he said. He chose capable men from all Israel, and he appointed them as administrators over the people, leaders of thousands, leaders of hundreds, leaders of 50s, and leaders of tens. They administered justice on a regular basis, bringing the difficult cases to Moses, and judging the simple cases by themselves. Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went away to his homeland. The 10 Commandments in the 3rd month after the Israelites left Egypt, on the 1st of the month, they came to the desert of Sinai. They had departed from Rephidim and had arrived in the Sinai desert, camping in the wilderness. Israel camped opposite the mountain. Moses went up to God. God called to him from the mountain and said, This is what you must say to the family of Jacob and tell the Israelites, You saw what I did in Egypt, carrying you on eagle's wings and bringing you to me. Now if you obey me and keep my covenant, you shall be my special treasure among all nations, even though all the world is mine. You will be a kingdom of priests and holy nation to me. These are the words that you must relate to the Israelites. Moses came back and summoned the elders of the people, conveying to them all that God had said. All the people answered as one and said, All that God has spoken, we will do. Moses brought the people's reply back to God. God said to Moses, I will come to you in a thick cloud, so that all the people will hear when I speak to you. They will then believe in you forever. Moses told God the people's response to that. God said to Moses, Go to the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow. Let them even immerse their clothing. They will then be ready for the 3rd day, for on the 3rd day, God will descend on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. Set a boundary for the people around the mountain and tell them to be careful not to climb the mountain, or even to touch its edge. Anyone touching the mountain will be put to death. You will not have to lay a hand on him, for he will be stoned or cast down. Neither man nor beast will be allowed to live. But when the trumpet is sounded with a long blast, they will then be allowed to climb the mountain. Moses went down from the mountain to the people. He sanctified them, and they immersed themselves and their clothing. Moses said to the people, Keep yourselves in readiness for 3 days. Do not come near a woman. The 3rd day arrived. There was thunder and lightning in the morning, with a heavy cloud on the mountain, and an extremely loud blast of the ram's horn. The people in the camp trembled. Moses led the people out of the camp toward the divine presence. They stood transfixed at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was all in smoke because of the presence that had come down on it. God was in the fire, and its smoke went up like the smoke of a lime kiln. The entire mountain trembled violently. There was the sound of the ram's horn, increasing in volume to a great degree. Moses spoke, and God replied with a voice. God came down on Mount Sinai, to the peak of the mountain. He summoned Moses to the mountain peak, and Moses climbed up. God said to Moses, Go back down and warn the people that they must not cross the boundary in order to see the divine, because this will cause many to die. The priests, who usually come near the divine, must also sanctify themselves, or else God will send destruction among them. Moses replied to God, The people cannot climb Mount Sinai. You already warned them to set a boundary around the mountain and to declare it sacred. God said to him, "Go down. You can then come back up along with Aaron. But the priests and the other people must not violate the boundary to go up to the divine. If they do, he will send instruction among them." Moses went down to the people and conveyed this to them. The first two commandments God spoke all these words, saying, "I am God your Lord, who brought you out of Egypt, from the place of slavery. Do not have any other gods before me. Do not represent such gods by any carved statue or picture of anything in the heaven above, on the earth below, or in the water below the land. Do not bow down to such gods or worship them. I am God your Lord, a God who demands exclusive worship. Where my enemies are concerned, I keep in mind the sin of the fathers for their descendants, to the third and fourth generation. But for those who love me and keep my commandments, I show love for thousands of generations." The third commandment: do not take the name of God your Lord in vain. God will not allow the one who takes his name in vain to go unpunished. The fourth commandment: remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. You can work during the 6 weekdays and do all your tasks. But Saturday is the Sabbath to God your Lord. Do not do anything that constitutes work. This includes you, your son, your daughter, your slave, your maid, your animal, and the foreigner in your gates. It was during the 6 weekdays that God made the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on Saturday. God therefore blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. The fifth commandment: honor your father and mother. You will then live long on the land that God your Lord is giving you. The sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth commandments: do not commit murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not testify as a false witness against your neighbor. The 10th commandment: envy. Do not be envious of your neighbor's house. Do not be envious of your neighbor's wife, his slave, his maid, his ox, his donkey, or anything else that is your neighbor's. Aftermath of the 10 commandments: all the people saw the sounds, the flames, the blast of the ram's horn, and the mountain smoking. The people trembled when they saw it, keeping their distance. They said to Moses, "You speak to us, and we will listen. But let God not speak with us anymore, for we will die if he does." "Do not be afraid," replied Moses to the people. "God only came to raise you up. His fear will then be on your faces, and you will not sin." The people kept their distance while Moses entered the mist where the divine was revealed. Concluding rules: God said to Moses, "This is what you must tell the Israelites. You have seen that I spoke to you from heaven. Do not make a representation of anything that is with me. Do not make silver or gold gods for yourselves. Make an earthen altar for me. You can sacrifice your burnt offerings, your peace offerings, your sheep and your cattle on it. Wherever I allow my name to be mentioned, I will come to you and bless you. When you eventually build a stone altar for me, do not build it out of cut stone. Your sword will have been lifted against it. You will have profaned it. Do not climb up to my altar with steps, so that your nakedness not be revealed on it.